All right, we are here in the Heart-repreneur group just a couple of minutes early. Like to be sure that we get people in. People know that we are here, and so we're excited. Join us. Make sure you tune in every single week, 2 p.m. Eastern. I am here either with a video or with an interview or with training. And the person I'm going to introduce you to, who you have to know if you're in this community at all, she is here on Wednesdays, and I'll have her tell you more about that. But first, I want to say a couple words. Those of you who perhaps years ago were listening to Heart-repreneur Radio podcast, it still exists if you want to go listen to it on Spotify or Apple or wherever. I used to do a lot of interviews, and then I had Velma, who we're going to talk with today, step in and do those interviews. And I kept getting comments from guests about what a fantastic interviewer she is, and it is the truth. And she'll tell you the story of our interview way back when. And so when I decided that I'd do a new podcast, Digital Marketing for Coaches and Consultants, and I wasn't going to have any interviews, we decided we would do interviews instead here for you all in our private community. And we have a lot of cool ones coming up. So as I introduce my co-host, just want to say a couple of things. I have been honored and privileged to have this amazing woman in my life for decades. She's not only one of my client family members, she's someone I respect and adore, and I am honored to call her friend. And she is your host right here and helps me run this entire community here at Heart-repreneur TV and Heart-repreneurs with Terri Levine, my amazing co-host, Velma Gallant. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. It's fun being on the other side of the mic sometimes. Now, I love doing interviews, as you know that. You shared that we had an interview. We've had many interviews, to be truthful. However, my first foray into interviews was done in 2004. Yeah, 2004. So almost 20 years ago. And in that series, it was a teleseminar series way back then. You were one of my amazing guests for that 18 series. And I still have that interview.
Wow.
And it was amazing content then. It's amazing content now. Like, it's still valid now. So, and I've had the honor of and privilege of interviewing you on my various podcasts over the years. And yeah, like it's something that jazzes me. I know when I got the opportunity to participate in Heart-repreneur Radio on TV a couple of years ago, like when you put out the invite, it was like, me.
Exactly. I remember you raising your hand super fast. And I remember somebody else coming to me literally 5 minutes after and saying, well, I'm sure nobody responded yet. I might be interested. I'm like, oh no, the second I put it out there. and it was definitely meant to be like, every interview that you do, and I get to watch them sometimes live, sometimes in the group, and sometimes before I put them up on YouTube. So I get to watch every interview, and the way you extract nuggets from people just always amazes me. The interviews are in depth. They're not these, a lot of interviews are very superficial, and I've been on a million of them. The host isn't necessarily listening, doesn't really care what you have to say. You are one-to-one with that person. You are asking questions, and you are allowing them to really share their expertise and their message that can help and serve our community. Because I'll tell you all that Velma and I are really pretty particular on who gets to do a live here. If you want to be interviewed live, you can reach out to Velma. You can tag her under this post, whatever. And there's criteria, right? And there's certain people that we have, and there's certain topics that we have. So if you're watching, you're like, I might like to be interviewed, just put live underneath, and Velma will connect with you. So I want people to know what you're doing in the world, what you're up to, because you are doing some magical, cool things. And this is about you.
Awesome. So it's been a heck of a journey. It has been a heck of a journey. And you've been with me on this journey for 20 years. So you've seen these things that have been going on in my life, and you know, everybody has them.
Yep.
If you see anyone out there and they've got this picture perfect Instagram life, you can know that there's stuff going on behind the scenes that you just don't know about. And it's all good, because sometimes we don't want to share those things out into the world. And I get that. I have been choosing to share more of my journey out there in the world, because my belief is these things did not happen for no reason at all. And I believe that's the same for most, if not all, people who are out there. Now, we're not necessarily going to be out there doing it in a big way, like some of, you know, a lot of the people that we see out there in the world. I mean, you've shared quite a bit of your journey, your RSD, your business, your coaching school. Like, there's so much that you've been able to share out in the world. And I'm feeling like it's that time for me. I've been feeling that for a number of years. I know I forayed out into the entrepreneurial world years ago, and I played with you during that time, and I had success during that time. And then something came up, right? Like, and that happens for each of us. And that was, I had made a decision to close my business for the highest good of my family. And there was things going on in my family that weren't working. And so I made the choice to release the business and go back into corporate, and made that choice specifically for the well-being of my family. Now, the results of that did not end up as intended. We all know that. I ended up divorced. So while I thought I was saving my family, I did and I didn't. I didn't save my marriage. I did save my family.
Yes.
I made a choice that was for the best for my family. Now, that divorce ended up being a high conflict divorce. There was a lot of drama in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, there was so much beauty that came out of it. And you know that when we have stuff going on in our lives, if we look deep enough and we're open to that possibility, you can find the gifts in the experience. So I did a lot of rambling there, but.
No, you didn't do a lot of rambling. And so, you know, because I have known you on the journey, you know, I think as we have folks listening and watching, this is part of our life, right? You know, life is not the smooth, easy, direct path. Life has these chaotic moments, and it's like, what's that happening for? Why did that show up? Or that doesn't look like the best thing. You know, certainly when I all of a sudden got, literally in nanoseconds, got RSD, I'm like, so what's this about? And so that gives us time to like pause, take stock of our life. And sometimes, in my experience, things have to fall apart before they can come together. And when they come together, they really come together. And that's where I've been watching you over these last, well, it's been months that I've been watching you in this way, but it's really been the last month that it's like, you're like a flower that's like, spring is here, I'm blooming, let's do this. Yeah, like you just popped up. And I know I really feel that, not just energetically, I really see that in what you're creating. So tell people a bit about your business and who you work with and why. I think they'll get the why pretty quickly.
So my business is working with divorced women to create more peace in their life. And the reason I have chosen this direction for my business is I have a heart for those women who are in those experiences, because I've been there. I've been there twice, right? My first marriage, I married young. I was 23 years old, and I married my high school sweetheart. And 6 years later, I find that I've changed so much in that amount of time that where I was not where I belonged anymore. And so that separation, that divorce, it was amicable. We both moved our own ways. We didn't have children together, anything like that. So it was a transition that, I mean, it had its moments, but those were my moments. It wasn't because, you know, he was a horrible person or anything like that. Those were my moments. So, you know, I've been through those experiences of divorce that there wasn't conflict. There wasn't external conflict, but it still left me in this place of who do I want to be? Where do I want to go? That kind of thing. Right. And then, you know, I mean, even going further back, I, in some ways, divorced my family. Now, I've mentioned in some of my content that, you know, I had teen trauma.
Right.
I actually ended up being homeless at 17. I divorced my family. It was not an amicable divorce. I was a little dramatic.
For 17.
You know, so I've experienced these moments of divorce, and yes, I am working with women who are experiencing divorces, whether it be, you know, actually in the courts or whether it be ending of relationships. What I've learned over the years is we actually experience a lot of different kinds of divorce in our life.
Good point.
So I've divorced jobs.
Been there, done that. Yeah.
Couple of times, right?
Yep.
I've divorced friendships.
Same.
Right. So a lot of what I share out in the world can be applied in other areas. I'm still choosing to work with these women because these types of, like, these marital divorces or relationship divorces, they are the real catalyst experiences. Now, you shared that, you know, sometimes things need to fall apart in order to be brought together, and the way I look at it is like, you know, like an atomic explosion, right? Sometimes they feel like an atomic explosion, but when those atoms scatter, they come together in a different form. And that same thing happens inside of our lives. So my marriage ended, it effectively ended 10 years ago. It took 3 years to get to the divorce. It mentioned it was high conflict. It was high conflict enough that I put in my divorce documents that my ex-husband could only communicate with me by email. And those communications needed to only be regarding our son. We had a teenage son. Yes, he
Yeah, I'm trying to remember how old he was
then, right? So he was 12 when we separated the first time, and then we reconciled, and then he was 13 when we finally separated for the final time.
Yeah.
Right. And so having experienced those things and having experienced the loss of who I thought I was, the loss of the life I thought I had, right? And keyword is thought.
Yeah.
Because I actually never did lose myself.
Correct.
I actually never did lose my life.
Yeah.
It was changing. I was changing, and I actually returned to the core of myself. The truth of who I am. I came to understand, love, choose the woman that I am, that I've always been, and embrace her in a bigger, more bold and beautiful way than I ever have before.
I love all that. I like that you talked about two things I want to piggyback on. You know, I always say, out of contrast, something new is going to be born. It doesn't get, the pieces don't get put back the same. As you know, and many of the folks in here know, you know, my Facebook business page was 27,000 followers, a verified account, a creator account. It's hacked. I don't really understand. I'm not Facebook. It's 2 weeks. I really have no idea where the account is. And while the first few days I was really caught up, I have to have this back. I was sensing that, like, loss. Oh, I lost something. And the other day I went, okay, there's contrast. I'm going to have something new be born. And so I started a new Facebook page and I'm getting new followers and I've designed it differently and I have different content. And I could care less about being verified. I would like to be a creator again because I did enjoy sharing a lot of content on Facebook, not attached to the outcome. If it happens, it happens. So the word loss, I think, is what, Velma, gets a lot of people caught up. I lost my job. My experience, that has been one of the best things. I've had friends, come to me and clients crying, I lost my job. And I'm like, I know you're not going to believe this. It could be the best thing that ever happened. Just accept what I'm saying and don't go how, because I don't know the how. And I've had people come back to me months later and go, oh my God, this was amazing. This was the greatest thing. So if we look at everything with an open and curious mind, and we ask, what's the gift in this? I was sharing with someone on a podcast this morning. We were talking about dis-ease, and he was sharing his dis-ease. You're going to be interviewing him here in the group in a few weeks. And I talked about RSD, and he said, well, I don't really understand. Like, do you still have it? I'm like, yeah, it doesn't ever go away. He's like, I didn't understand. And I'm like, I decided that I would take it on as a gift instead of this curse that I'd never walk again. And this was my life sentence. I'm like, where's the gift in this? Oh, the gift is I have a venue for speaking. I have books, I have blogs, I have podcasts, I have a terrestrial radio show. At the time, I even had a magazine. I can reach so many people and I can start a foundation for kids because most of the treatment isn't covered because it's experimental. And now when someone's like, oh, you have RSD, I'm like, it's been a real gift because we've been able to help kids all around the world and their families with support and medical care that they couldn't have had. So when you look at these things, it's a great conversation we're having. We don't know where we're going to go, which I love. We just dance is, sometimes loss can be one of the greatest things. And as humans, we can trick ourselves to thinking it's, bad. I laugh when people want to lose weight. I'm like, well, if you lose it, it sounds like you almost want to find it back.
Right?
Do you want to get rid of it? Do you want to shred it? Do you want to, it's a lot of language and thinking. I think the reason you are so peaceful after divorce is because you know yourself, you know who you are, you know how to feed your soul. You weren't feeling well, right, for a bit. And you and I had like certain things you were doing as a client family member, and you're like, I need to rest my body right now. And I couldn't celebrate that more. Most people just keep on driving, and that's why they get sick. So any of that you want to unpack or address? I know I had a lot in there.
Oh, well, there's so much in there. So when it came to what are the gifts that I got out of my divorce, right? It was high conflict. I'm fighting with my ex-husband. There's drama. I have a teenage son. Teen years are hard enough as it is without throwing divorce on top of it. My parents divorced when I was 15, or separated when I was 15. Theirs was kind of high conflict too. What I got out of it is, so some of the blessings I got out of it is I learned to trust myself. So there were plenty of, they call them red flags before I married my husband, and I chose to ignore them. I didn't trust those instinctual feelings that I had regarding it, and I talked myself out of them, right? So do I regret that choice? Absolutely not. I have the most amazing son. He's going to be 22 this summer, and the relationship that we have and that we cultivated through this divorce is mind-boggling. He actually honored me by inviting me into his passions. I got to be in one of his music videos playing the mom. and it was an honor. It was an honor to be in that for him, and he honored me at the same time. So there was that beautiful flow of energy that went that way. And I never would have had that if it weren't for this experience. One of the other things that I gained out of that was an understanding of boundaries in a different way that I never knew before. So boundaries, we talk about, having boundaries for other people, right? So that they don't do this to me or whatever the case might be. And that's reasonable. Those
Right.
are important. What I came to understand during this part of my life was that boundaries are for me. So I learned to trust me, and boundaries are for me, because no one can I shouldn't be pointing my finger. No one can step over a boundary that I don't allow them to step over. So I have to honor my boundaries in order for someone else to honor my boundaries. So boundaries are for me. If someone's stepping over a boundary, where am I not honoring my own boundary?
Perfect.
Right?
Perfect. Yeah. Let me add something to that on boundaries. In my head, this is the boundaries, how I think about it. It's not a picket fence that can fall down. It's the moat around a castle. It's that strong. It's that super strong. You have seen me over the years remove people from some of my programs. And it is because they violated a boundary with either me or with a client or with their ethics. And I just have this very strong line in my life of this is good. And that's where it stops. I think a lot of people, in my experience, personal and as well as professionals, they put up what they call a boundary. And it's this flimsy fence that as soon as someone pushes on it, it goes down. So having these boundaries for you, they're just so important. I'm glad you're mentioning that. Keep going. Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to
No,
make that.
I really like the analogy that you used of the moat, because, and I'm going to use your symbolism here.
Okay.
I get the opportunity to put down that moat and invite someone in when I trust myself. Trusting myself allows me to put that down. Now, if I put that down and somebody does something they're not supposed to, it's not because I couldn't trust myself. It's because there's a part of me that said, there's something there for you.
Yes.
Trust that there's something there for you. So understanding that if you extend an opportunity for someone to come into your life and it doesn't turn out how you figured it should, trust that there was something in there for you. You can trust yourself that there was something there for you. So I really love that analogy. And this hand thing is your
kind of like the moat going up and down, or the bridge going up and down, or
that's your sales. You extend your hand to someone to invite them in to work with you, right? So it's the same kind of thing. I'm extending my hand to invite someone in to be present with me.
Oh, I love that. It's interesting. I talked to somebody a couple of weeks ago, a gentleman, and he's in our community. Hopefully he's even watching. And he said, I had hired, and he named, a very big name in the coaching and consulting industry. I got nothing from that. And I went, stop. I've spent a lot of money too on coaches and consultants. And I've had that thought, really go back. Even if it's one tiny thing, we all get something from every experience if we're looking and if we're open and curious. If we're, I'm not going to get anything from this. You're absolutely right. You're not going to get anything from this. And unfortunately, that's how 99% of the people are. I was doing a speaking engagement a few weeks ago, and I started by saying 99% of you already came, decided you're not going to really want to hear what I say. Can't wait to get over to work because it was before work, and you're tuned out. The 1% of you that is open and curious, you're going to get a ton. And it was really interesting. I had two people who had their phones out when I started, and they put their phones away. And I had one guy that hadn't engaged with me at all. He was looking everywhere, no eye contact with me. All of a sudden he set up and I got this amazing eye contact. Now, my intention in saying that wasn't pay attention to me. It was just being honest. That's how humans are. We go through life and I'm not going to get anything out of this. You're darn right. Then you won't. And it's even interesting here in our community. We've got in our community of about 8,000, we have, I looked this up the other day, 2,720, can't remember, it's 24, 23 people who are what Facebook deems engaged. That means you're speaking, you're commenting, or you're viewing content or lives, whatever it might be. And the rest of the people are just, who knows, shiny object syndrome, whatever. And that's pretty much the expectation of how life is. So, if you're, by the way, if you're a divorced woman who wants to have a really amazing quality of life and peaceful life, just in the comments, put divorced woman, because Velma has an incredible community and all kinds of resources. And, I think the other thing I want to just say is that we all need support. People always chuckle when I say, well, I have 8 coaches and consultants. Why would you need coaches and consultants? I'm human. I've got nutrition, and I've got a strength coach, and I have a humor coach. I have all kinds of coaches. I can't say the name of my business coach. I think many people have figured this out. He's a sir. I'll just leave it at that. And I'm always going to have somebody who is aspiring things and doing things that's like, someday I'd love to be that. I'd love to be able to give back that much to the world. So finding out who you are, to me, it's not loss. It's like you got to peel the onion and you got to discover so much more of who you are when you're not attached to this other human. Thoughts about any of that?
So I love that. And I know that the older I get, the quicker I find those. I had the most amazing awareness show up over the last month. And I know you saw that post I posted, pictures side by side of me. One was from 10 years ago. And that photo was actually 8 months before the first separation with my husband. And then side by side with a current picture that I did this February. Fun. But so I put them side by side because I was shocked at the difference. I feel younger. I feel I look younger now, 10 years later than I did then. When that picture came up in my memories, my first visceral response was embarrassment, sadness, and a little bit of shame because I let myself get to that place, right? And then I'm like, no, that may have been my experience then. That's not who I am now. And I think that, and I felt that it was really important to show my transformation. And one of the awarenesses that came in, like I said, it was 8 months before the first separation from my now ex-husband. He actually told me the day before my birthday that he was leaving.
Happy birthday.
Now, yeah, right. And to most people, I'm going to get colorful here. That's an asshole move. Right. And in this human sense, it really was. The truth is that day, he gave me the most amazing birthday present. He gave me back to me.
Exactly.
And he gave me a lot of things over those years. So he fought for, and I had this conversation with my son. I told him, I said, I love your dad. I love your dad, not in a romantic way.
Yep.
However, his human self may not have taken care of me. His soul took amazing care of me. So he fought for a dog. I didn't want a dog because I knew whose dog that would end up being. My son was 9 years old. He fought for that dog and I gave in. That dog took care of me as I transitioned out of my marriage and as I transitioned into being an empty nester.
Yep.
Very grateful for that.
Yeah.
He chose the faith community that supported me as I transitioned out of that marriage. So I was cared for on so many levels because of my ex-husband.
Yeah.
So I get to choose what's my perspective, a hole or a soul who loved me enough, right?
brilliant. That's brilliant. And it is all about really, truly shifting perspectives. And there's always, in my experience, there's always some good in everything. You know, while, you know, we've been talking about this Facebook debacle, a friend of mine, she called me last night and she said, "Oh my God, I've been thinking about your Facebook thing. What are you going to do?" And I said, "Oh, I've moved on." She's like, "What?" I'm like, she said, "Yeah, but," I said, no, there's no but in here. If Facebook ever figures it out and gets it back to me, hallelujah, that's a nice surprise. I've just moved on. I'm in a different place than when I started that page, which according to Facebook was like 2010 or 2011. I'm choosing to have different followers. I'm choosing to do different content. I'm choosing to create a new experience with new people and to create more value. And so if you keep focused on, you know, our favorite question, what is working? Because something is always working, you can bring more and more of that. I have a friend right now who actually I'm speaking with, actually I'm seeing on Saturday, and I'm planning to refer to you. I'm seeing her in person. And you know, she got the news of divorce kind of similar to you. They were celebrating their anniversary, champagne, flowers, the whole thing. And in the car, he said, "Well, this will be our last anniversary. I'm filing for divorce." But you know, it's quite shocking. And so she's initially was in this place of more than a-hole. She had a lot of language for him, and you know, just distraught place. And I've noticed over the last two conversations with her, she is doing things that she never did before. She started a book club. She is signed up for her first Spartan race. She's never done anything like this. She is really excited about building her own home from the sale of their home. She's getting half of that, and she can build this lovely home in a location she wants to be in, designed her way. And all of a sudden, I'm hearing all these positive things. And I'm like, okay. So what I love about what you provide is it's the mental piece. I think so many women in particular, when they go through divorce, the whole mental story that goes on and the imaging and the self-talk and all of that creates nowhere near peace as far on the outer side that we can get to that. And if you can help a woman, and you can, and I know that's what you do, move through divorce with a different kind of the stress that those divorces can take if we allow them mentally, physically, emotionally. My friend, by the way, is starting to put on rapid amounts of weight. You know, these things are interesting, right? Our body reacts to stress. So tell people how they can connect with you and what you do. And again, if you're a woman who is divorced or divorcing, or, you know, maybe thinking it may be coming or whatever it might be, just put the word divorced woman or divorce right in the comments here. And by the way, it's not an embarrassment to say that word. It is not. About 60% of our population is divorced at least once.
Right. Yeah. It's there's so much juicy stuff in that. I know that one of the reasons that I allowed my ex-husband to overstep the boundaries repeatedly was that because it was would have been my second divorce. If I didn't fix that marriage, and these are beliefs talking, if I didn't fix that marriage, I was a failure.
Yep. That's a normal belief. My nephew is going to be married for the third time. And when he informed me of that, he said, "It's so embarrassing to tell people it's my third marriage." I said, "No, it isn't. Your first one, first of all, you were so young, you didn't even know what was going on. And the second one, you know, both of you recognized you grew apart and you did the best thing that you could do for each other. You still love each other. You're still friendly. You have a very nice relationship in terms of how you're handling your kids, like co-parenting. That's through the roof. Amazing. Didn't even need it in the divorce settlement. And you found somebody that you're truly in love with, and you have grown. You are not the same person you were in the other marriages. So let the shame go or the guilt go, or even if you're the one that's saying, I want to get divorced, there's no shame or guilt in that. That's respecting yourself and knowing more of who you are and what you want. Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That was actually one of the third things gifts that I got out of my divorce was, again, so trust. What was my second one?
Well, we talked about losing
Boundaries, right?
boundaries.
Trust, boundaries. The third one is belonging.
Oh, that I love.
Right? Because I mean, a lot of times we stay in a marriage because that's where we belong, or we feel that belonging. We stay in communities because we're looking for that belonging. We start dating again because we're looking for that belonging. And what the divorce gave back to me was a belonging to me. Oof. And that has been one of the most amazing gifts that I've given myself. And part of that belonging came from trusting myself, honoring my boundaries, and getting to know who I am again. And that is one of the biggest things that I love about this work is restoring that self-knowing again, because we get distracted. I mean, especially if you have kids and stuff like that. One of my identities was mother. Mm-hmm. And then when my son moved in with his dad, it's like, oh my God, I'm not mother anymore. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Still mother, but that's what I made it mean, right? I'm no longer wife anymore. I'm a double divorcee, and I got all of these identities that I wrapped myself up in. And when I peeled those all away, what was left was me.
Exactly.
And I got to belong to me. I belonged to me first before I open the gates to belong with anyone else. With, not to, with.
Wow. All right. So how can people connect with you? I'll also make sure you tell them about the interviews that you conduct, and then also tell them how they can be part of your community, get some of your amazing tools and resources.
Absolutely. So you can find me on Facebook. I have a personal profile that's out in public. I have my business profile that's out in public. I have the community that I'm creating, Divorced Women Creating Peace. I have a podcast interview series that goes with that as well. It's been on pause for a little bit, and I'm going to be reactivating that very soon. I've been in conversation with a few people. Those interviews are with divorced women who created peace after their divorce. Weird thought, but it's true.
Brilliant. Great.
So yes, those are 3 different places that you can find me and interact with me. And I'm looking forward to it, because I want you to be living your peace. I want you to be connected to yourself. I want you to be trusting yourself. I want to be honoring yourself. You deserve every little bit of it.
Beautiful. So when we're done, Velma will drop several links, and she is allowed to do that here in the group. She also conducts interviews here at Heart-repreneur. If you haven't tuned into her interviews, and I said earlier, if you want to be interviewed, in the comments, just put the word live, and she'll reach out to you to see if you're a fit. Tell people just a little bit about the interviews, when they are, and why they should tune in.
So those interviews are on Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern. They're roughly 30 minutes. Try to keep it to 30 minutes to be honoring everyone's time with respect to that. It's got really juicy information in there. They give me some content to start with, and then we let that conversation go organically. And that's what I love about these interviews is they're going to be similar enough to some of their other interviews that you get an understanding of what we're going to be covering, but they're going to be very different, because I go in there with my ears and my heart to pull out the juicy things that kind of highlight to me, because I want you to get the most out of it. I want you to be able to connect to the essence of those people, because they've got amazing stuff. Sometimes it's mindset, sometimes it's business, sometimes it's a combination of both. There's always good content in these.
Excellent. So I want to give special thanks for you being here, for you giving us your time, for creating so much help in this group, for actually being, the person who's the biggest voice in the group. And what I mean by that is inspiring others every single day in every way. And if you are a woman who is divorced, first time, second time, 50th time, thinking about getting a divorce, this is your gal. I truly 100% endorse Velma. She is authentic. I'm sure you have realized that. She is always in integrity. She's always transparent. Look, when you go to her Facebook pages and you see what she has put up, which was, here's a photo when I wasn't quite at the best I wanted to be, and yet I'm sharing it. That is someone of integrity and transparency. So Velma, thank you. Thank all of you for tuning in. Velma will drop some links and we'll both head over to the comments in a little bit. Bye for now, everybody. Thanks again, Velma. Bye-bye.
Bye.